This particular video, this particular installment, has a bit of history. A history of about 56 years. Because back in 1969, when I was only 21 years old, I became very inspired over a course of 3 days with ideas that wouldn't stop coming to me until what resulted was an essay which I wrote, and the people who read it at the time were very inspired and said that one day I should publish this. Well, today is that day. And the title of the essay at this time was Let Us Live Life Now. And the message is very clear once you finish listening to what I'm going to offer you right now. So, here we go. Let us live life now. An inspired essay written in 1969 by yours truly, Charles Prosper. How many of us are letting life whiz by? How many of us are letting irretrievable time pass us as we continue to look over the horizon, waiting to live for that magical wonderland which is to come? How many years will be wasted before we are enlightened and realize that our waiting to live is such a tragic farce? An explosive illustration of this can be seen in this quote by Stephen Leacock. How strange it is, our little procession of life. The child says, when I am a big boy. But what is that? The big boy says, when I grow up. And then grown up, he says, when I get married. But to be married, what is that after all? The thought changes to when I'm able to retire. And then, when retirement comes, he looks back over the landscape traversed. A cold wind seems to sweep over it. Somehow, he has missed it all, and it is gone. Life, we learn too late, is in the living, in the tissue of every day and hour. Life must be captured in its movement. Life lies in its progression, not after the fulfillment of goals, because once all goals are fulfilled, there is no more life. Implicit within this concept of life is its central purpose, enjoyment. Every activity a human being engages in is goal-oriented consciously or unconsciously. Therefore, everything one does should be either potentially or immediately directed to enjoyment. Life is like a trip on a train. We either look out of the window and enjoy the colors, sights, and panorama of the landscape as we pass them by, or we sleep throughout the entire ride, only to waken at the end of our road. Is it that the trip is as important as the reaching of the destination? Life is like an exquisite and sumptuously prepared banquet placed before us. The individual who races through the appetizers and entree to be able to quickly get to and finish with the dessert has overlooked that the pleasure of the banquet and life is in the savoring of it, bite by bite, each and every part of it. We cannot listen to a completed piece of music all at once. We can only enjoy it as it moves through us, note by note. Fulfillment should not be exalted to the near exclusion of the progression. Progression and fulfillment should be considered as one on an ever intensifying continuum. That is, fulfillment is progression at its highest and most glorious stage. We should try to approach life as a never-ending progression of enjoyment. We should think more of the now movement. We should begin to live more within the now movement. Since the progression or movement toward a goal is usually longer than the experience of its fulfillment, then one should be aware of and try to experience the joy of the progression as well as the fulfillment. An important concept to the understanding of enjoying the progression of life lies within the concept of stimulus variation, or simply experience. Back in 1954, a group of scientists by the name of Benton, Heron, and Scott did an experiment at McGill University where college students were paid $20 a day to do absolutely nothing. Now keep in mind that back in 1954, receiving $20 a day to do absolutely nothing would be equivalent to receiving $241 a day in purchasing power in today's market in 2026. That is, consider that these people were given the equivalent of today's purchasing power of $241 a day to lie down 24 hours a day on comfortable beds in a room kept at even temperature. Their eyes, ears, and hands were shielded to minimize stimulus variation. That is, they were asked to do absolutely nothing but lie down on a comfortable bed in a room kept at an even temperature with their eyes, ears, and hands shielded. They were paid the equivalent of $241 to do absolutely nothing. Whereas some individuals chronically complaining of the drudgery of having to get up and go to work every morning would consider this situation a utopian means of making a living. The fact was that, under the conditions of the experiment, few subjects could endure more than 2 or 3 days, even though they were paid the equivalent of $241 per day to do absolutely nothing. They couldn't handle it. The craving for stimulus variation was overwhelming. Stimulus variation is anything that can be experienced. It could be eating an ice cream cone, being depressed through a love loss, attending a church revival, or meditating on life. Stimulus variation means experience. Experience is the synonym for life, for living implies experiencing. Life should be a continuum of achieving higher and higher levels of experience. Variety is indeed the spice of life, and stimulus variation is necessary for the emotional satisfaction and happiness of the human organism. Inertia is anathema. One is happiest when he or she is vitally absorbed in something which interests him or her. Even pain can deepen and mature, sometimes opening consciousness to a more profound understanding of life. I often thought that a world completely without any problems or needs would be utopia. But now I wonder, if there are no problems or needs, there can be no goals. If there are no goals, there is no life, activity, or stimulus variation toward its fulfillment. If there is no stimulus variation, as was noted above, there will be no emotional satisfaction. Therefore, no enjoyment. Therefore, no happiness. Is then suffering, pain, and problems a reflection of the infinite intelligence and benevolence of the universe? Since absorption and activity are so vital to the emotional well-being of the individual, we are naturally led into what forms the core of all of our activity, our daily work. Alas, far too many people find their daily work unenjoyable and unpleasant experience. As I once read, nothing is really work unless you would be rather doing something else. Too many jobs are ill chosen on the basis of salary or money alone. Sorry is the man or woman who lives only from payday to payday at a job which he or she despises. The majority of our lives are spent on the jobs or in the careers we have chosen. Can we really afford such a waste? For all we know, the life we have may end tomorrow. I find that too many of us live sporadically and in pieces by finding life only when we go out and have a ball, instead of living, enjoying, and experiencing life right now. A happy gardener who enjoys the jokes, laughter, and conversation of his coworkers, the beauty of the landscape, and has the appreciation in his heart of being able to express his joy through his work is much more successful in life than the pressured executive who has gone for the third time for the treatment of his stress induced ulcers. So let us stop putting off the living and loving of life, for living and loving and enjoying life can only be in the present moment. Let us capture it. Let us awake from our stupor. Let us at last silence the echoing laughter of the tyrant time who devours our lives as we endlessly wait for him to bring us into an impossible experience of the receding future. This has been yours truly, Charles Prosper, your consistency success coach, wishing you as always to remain consistent and to be successful.